Hello, this is the Atari Collector again, here with another video on a classic video game for the Atari 7800 Pro system. The game that I will be presenting in this video is titled Choplifter. Now the concept of this game is rather simple, and the game itself is actually fairly short. Once again, I'd like to read the story of the game as found in the official instruction manual, so that you get a more full experience of the original game than what you'd get if you simply started the game without knowing what the original game makers wanted you to know about the things you encounter in the game and your specific task relating to it all. So the instruction manual reads, "Stun the Bunglings. The evil Bunglings have kidnapped 64 of our delegates from a world peace conference. You must save them. The delegates are imprisoned in a bungling stronghold, but we've got a secret base nearby disguised as a post office. You've already smuggled in a helicopter, fully armed with a machine gun and bombs. You're ready to fly it into enemy territory, snatch the hostages from their prison barracks, and speed them to safety. But be careful. The bungling forces are on the alert, just waiting to shoot you down. You'll need speed and skill to get past them and save the hostages, but you can do it." So that's the simple and basic story that appears in the instruction manual of the game. You'll notice that it mentions the Bunglings as the enemy of the game, who has kidnapped your country's 64 delegates from a world peace conference. And even though the game doesn't mention the name of your country, you'll see the US flag that waves in the wind near your secret base. You can actually see it right now on the paused screen that I have before you. And it says that this secret base is disguised as a post office. So somehow there is a helicopter in front of a post office near these enemy barracks, and apparently the enemies aren't supposed to suspect that anything is going on. Now, from what I've read, the Bunglings are a fictitious military force created by Broderbund, the original game designer from whom Atari received license to make this game for the 7800. Now, my guess is that Broderbund chose to create a fictitious military force rather than use the name of a real military force, so as not to offend anyone in any country who would later hear about this game and perhaps even have the opportunity to purchase the game. Thus, the Bunglings are simply to be understood as some evil military force from some unknown country, but no more information on them is officially given. Now, the section in the instruction manual titled "Playing the Game" reads as follows. The 64 hostages are locked in 4 bungling prison barracks, 16 hostages per barracks. You must rescue them in your helicopter and fly them to safety. Your mission is divided into 3 sorties with 1 chopper per sortie. Now, as a side note, first of all, for anyone who may not have ever heard of the term sortie before, in general, a sortie is a deployment of one military unit, such as an aircraft, ship, or troops, from a strong point. So in this particular game, a sortie would be the deployment of your military helicopter from the strong point of the secret military base, which is disguised as a post office. Now, I just read in the instruction manual that your mission is divided into 3 sorties. So that means your mission would be divided into 3 deployments of a helicopter from the military base. This is actually misleading, because if you do very well and your first helicopter is never shot down, you can beat the whole game on the first sortie. So you will never see sorties 2 and 3. Thus, it should more properly say that if you have a you have a maximum of 3 sorties to rescue all or a portion of the 64 hostages. It does later clarify this in the manual, so it just seems odd that this misleading sentence is in there at all. Well, anyway, back to the playing the game section in the manual. When a sortie begins, your helicopter is revving up on the pad. When the music ends, move the controller handle forward to lift off, then move the handle left, right, or diagonally to fly in that direction. Release the handle to land. While flying, press the right controller button to change the direction you're facing. As you press the button, you'll alternately face right, forward, or left. Press the left controller button to fire your chopper's machine gun or drop bombs. When the chopper is facing sideways, the machine gun will fire. Use this on airborne targets and to shoot open the barracks. To drop bombs on ground attackers, face forward, then press the left button. Once in the air, you'll have to fight off bungling ground and air forces to get close to a barracks. Shoot open the barracks to free the hostages, then land your helicopter so they can scramble in. You can fit up to 16 hostages at once inside the chopper. Retreat to the post office and descend. You must land on the pad in order for the hostages to climb out. Then return to the battle zone for more action. If your chopper is shot down, another appears at the post office until all your choppers are lost. Choplifter ends when you lose your third helicopter or when all hostages are rescued or lost. So that part of the instruction manual really describes the entire game rather well. Basically, there are 4 barracks that each contain 16 hostages, who are the USA delegates kidnapped from a world peace conference. Your ultimate goal is to see if you can save all 64 of them. If you can do that, then you have mastered the game and seen everything that there is, because there are no adjustable difficulty level settings in this game. And other than how many hostages you've rescued, the game doesn't measure your level of success by time taken or anything like that. The game has 3 types of enemy bunglings that you'll encounter, which are described in the manual as follows. First are the tanks. It says tanks will shoot your helicopter if you've landed or are near the ground. Their turrets track your chopper, then fire. They'll also shoot open barracks, then shoot the hostages as they run. Now the second enemy type is jet fighter. And it says jet fighters charge at you shooting air-to-air missiles. And then the third and final enemy type is drone air mine. And it says drone air mines home in on your chopper. When they make contact, you crash. So those are the 3 types of enemy bunglings that you'll see as I play through the game. Tanks, jet fighters, and drone air mines. The manual also gives some survival tips. It says, maneuver your chopper high to bomb tanks while avoiding their fire. You can shoot down air-to-air missiles, but it's safer and quicker to dodge them. Don't land on hostages, that squashes them. Don't shoot them either. Now, I've actually never shot down an air-to-air missile from a jet fighter, and that would indeed be very hard. Just dodging them can be rather hard, since the jet fighters in the game will appear on the screen very quickly and drop the missile at you almost immediately. So I definitely use the tip in the instruction manual of trying to dodge the air missiles, which itself requires quick reflexes at times. Now, it's also important to note that the manual says don't land on the hostages because that squashes them. The hostages in this game aren't the brightest of people, because when the barracks get blasted open, they run out in a line, and the first person in the line doesn't even try to stop running toward your helicopter until he is directly under it. And if you land going straight down, you will squash and kill the first guy in line every time. So when you are going to pick up hostages, you have to force yourself to stay ahead of them and land your chopper quickly in front of them before they can reach you, so that you won't squish and kill the first guy in line who is basically trying to get squished to death by you. Now, as for shooting them, you would really have to try to do that in order for that to happen. More likely, they'll get shot by the tanks that keep coming in and blasting into their line. The manual also explains the 3 score indicators that appear at the top of the screen. Right now you can see them up there. They all read 0. The left score at the top shows you how many hostages have been lost, so how many people have already died of the 64 delegates. The score in the upper middle of the screen shows you how many hostages are currently inside your chopper. And as the manual says, you can't have any more than 16 hostages in your chopper at one time. And then the right score shows how many hostages you've rescued. So how many people you've successfully returned to your secret base / post office. The highest possible score for rescued hostages is 64. And I know from personal experience that if you want to see the best ending of the game, you have to rescue all 64 hostages. It doesn't matter how many choppers you lose, so long as no hostage dies and all are returned to the base. And this is what I am now going to try to do. I don't know how many tries it might take me to save all 64 hostages. I have done it a couple times already. But if you want to see quickly if I succeeded or not without watching all of the possible failed attempts in this video in between, then go ahead and fast forward to near the end of the video to either see my success or my rage quitting after so many failed attempts. So with that, I will now unpause and reset the game, and you'll see the very short introduction that appears at the beginning of Choplifter for the Atari 7800. So that's it. That was the whole introduction. And you can see that the tank already killed a hostage. So I managed to save 15 out of the 16 hostages in the first barracks. And now I return and the hostages run out of my helicopter and into the secret military base, which is disguised as a U.S. post office in this unnamed country, with the bungalings who have taken these delegates from the peace conference hostage. You'll notice that your helicopter is constantly wanting to descend. So you have to keep pushing up to keep it from descending. Otherwise, if you just hold left or right, it's just going to keep descending and you have to keep fighting against it. Now right there, that jet came in real quick. He almost killed me. He did kill one of, actually two of them. The best thing to do whenever you're flying to the barracks is to stay at the very top of the screen. You can see that right now a jet fighter is chasing me. I think it's best to just wait until you're at the peaceful area, land quickly, and you'll see that even as he drops his missile, you're invincible at this point, so neither your helicopter nor the guys die whenever the jet is chasing you back from the left to the right of the screen. So I'm already halfway through this entire game. So far I've lost 3 hostages, and there's 2 more barracks left of hostages. Now here's whenever I'm going to have to worry about the drone, air. See, right, there's one. Oh, that was bad. Pretty much, if you're flying at the top of the screen and you're going real fast, you always want to keep shooting in front of you in case one of the air mines comes in real quick, because they'll usually stay at the top of the screen. And you'll notice that as you save hostages from each of the barracks, more enemy types come at you in higher numbers. So now that this is the 4th and last barracks, there's going to be more enemies than ever before. And it doesn't matter how fast you land your helicopter. You can go down really fast and he'll just land. Pressing down makes you descend faster, but if you don't press down, your helicopter is always trying to descend slowly. And what I just showed you is the whole game. So by today's standards, it's almost a mini game as opposed to a full video game. So I saved 59 out of the 64 hostages, and you'll see that right now my ending just says game over and it's blinking. There's no high score screen or anything like that. As I mentioned before, if you want to see the best ending that the game has to offer, you have to save all 64 hostages. So that's going to be my focus now that I've explained to you the game and you've seen it. I'm just going to focus and see if I can get all 64. Not sure how many tries it'll take me. I definitely think that you want to go to the farthest barracks first, since there's only tanks coming at you at this point in the game. And then whenever you go back, you want to make sure that the tanks don't blow open any of the other barracks, which will cause the hostages to start running out before you want them to. Although if they blow open the first barracks, that doesn't matter because that's where I'm going next anyway. So I did save all 16 hostages from that barracks. We'll see if I can do it with the other 3. Whenever the last guy comes out, he waves at you, lets you know that he's the last one. And they already killed one guy, so I failed. I'll go ahead and reset. My goal right now is to see if I can just get a perfect game. Getting a perfect game is rather difficult, I must say. So even though the game is short, it does have a lot of replayability because you want to try to get a perfect score. And that is pretty tough to do. Now I wanted to go to the farthest barracks, but unfortunately the tank already exploded that one open. So rather than let the guys run around, because they will start running out immediately as soon as the barracks get blown open, and then if you ever fly by them, they're at risk of getting hit by one of the tank fire and dying, which will certainly hurt your score. So maybe I can get to the farthest barracks the second time. The only additional enemy type I have to worry about now is the jets that might fly in out of nowhere, and they can be pretty tough to dodge. Oh! The air mine got me. As I said, it doesn't matter how many choppers you lose. You get 3 choppers. So long as no one dies, you can still get the best score and the best ending. So I'm going to go ahead and keep trying. Oh, and they killed someone again. Try again. I admit the game does look pretty primitive for the Atari 7800. It does seem like the Atari 2600 could have pulled this off. I believe this game was made for the Atari 5200. So it's actually a primitive game running on a more developed system, which is why it looks primitive, because it was a more primitive game before the Atari 7800 era. Oh, not doing well. And you'll see right there I landed and squished the guy. As I said, as they run out, they try to get directly under your helicopter, and if you just go straight down, you will squish them, and you'll see that the death meter, the death count in the upper left increases. So you have to avoid smashing the guy who wants to be squished. It seems like before you start rescuing hostages from a barracks, you do want to try to kill tanks, clear them out, and then it might be a while before tanks come again. So kill 2 or 3 tanks, blast open the barracks immediately, and then land as close to the barracks as you possibly can and try to collect all 16 hostages as fast as possible before the next tank comes onto the screen. That seems to be the best strategy to use if you're going for a perfect score. Oh, he killed a guy. As I said, getting a perfect score is tough to do, so it does add replayability to the game, even though it's so short otherwise. Ultimately, the best thing you could do is not only save all hostages, but never die. The game itself doesn't really recognize you for not dying. But if you just want to do it as a personal goal, and again, they... Ah! See, I just keep squishing guys. All right. Ha, take that. The guys won't come out of your helicopter unless you land actually in the helipad landing area. Oh. Oh, he killed a guy. Perfection is so hard. First sortie. It's probably more like my 15th at this point. You'll notice as you push the right button, it just changes how your chopper is facing. So if you are facing the middle, you can't decide whether you turn left. It just depends on where you are at in the rotation. One button changes from left to middle to right to middle to left to middle to right to middle, and that's the only way you can turn. If you're facing straight forward, you have the ability to shoot down at the ground and destroy tanks. And then if you're facing left or right, you have the ability to shoot the drone air mines or the jet fighters. I've found that whenever a tank comes on the screen, if you're collecting guys, you have enough time that he will shoot once and miss. But if he shoots again and you don't move, you're dead. So you can always wait until that first shot comes, and then maybe collect your last guy before getting up and getting the heck out of there before you get destroyed. Obviously, if your helicopter gets blown up, however many guys are in your helicopter at that time will all die. So if your helicopter gets blown up, you want to make sure it happens whenever there's no hostages in it at all. Alright, this could be the perfect game. So far I've rescued all hostages from 3 of the 4 barracks. This is my game to lose now. I think I'm on my first helicopter too, so I can die twice as long as I don't have any hostages inside of me, and that's okay. That sounded bad. As long as I don't have any hostages in my helicopter. Yes, that is much less creepy of a way to say it. Ah! That jet fighter just moshed me. Pretty much whenever the jet fighter gets on the screen, you want to be in the middle of the screen to dodge both it and the missile that it drops. Oh! That's it. You are about to see the best ending of the game as I rescued all 64 hostages. Remember, before, you just saw the blinking game over message. Eh? Now you don't just see blinking game over, you see blinking game over and blinking congratulations. That is the best ending. So that's the whole game. There's no different difficulty settings. There's only that one stage with the 4 barracks. Again, by today's standards, it's sort of more like a mini game as opposed to a full video game, but I really like it. It's fun. It's neat to pick up every once in a while and see if you can save all 64 hostages on your first helicopter, which I don't know if I've done yet. I think there I just died once, but anyway, I got the best ending. So that was Choplifter for the Atari 7800. Thanks for watching, and I think the next video I'm going to do whenever the time comes will probably be Donkey Kong for the Atari 7800.